So I just got home and I thought you guys would have a really good laugh. Oh my goodness, if you guys want to see just how I get straw for my chickens. Yeah, minus the paper towels that I had to buy at Sam's Club on the way home and milks. But yeah, this is it, guys. This is a they're like, where do you want it? And I'm like, in the car. And they're like, you need a truck. I'm like, yeah, I do. My husband actually has like 10 trucks, but they all have plows attached. So anyway, I just thought you guys would get a kick out of this. Not cool. This is probably the hardest thing to have to vacuum out of a car. Good thing I need to detail mine. I got some WeatherTech mats for my car, so I got to shampoo the floors anyway. But yeah, guys. You should see the looks I get. I'm like, when they make a truck that fits 8 kids, I'll have a truck. But other than that, yeah. So just thought you guys would get a laugh out of this. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to Rocky Mountain Homestead. Okay, I am home. I got the straw out of my car, and my dogs are going nuts. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that. I just got home, so they've kind of been alone for most of the day. Well, there's 4 of them, but you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm going to take you guys along, and it's been a wash of a day. All kinds of craziness, but I figured I'm going to pull out the celery that I had saved in the fridge to preserve, and we're going to get this preserved up. I'm going to show you guys how to dehydrate, how I dehydrate, and I bought a lot of celery in bulk from Azure Standard, so I am going to show you guys how I process it, the process, I guess the steps you would say, to get it in the dehydrator. And I have been using the rest of my dehydrated celery up. I only was down to 1 jar, so I like to use it in stews, soups, mainly soups. We don't do a whole lot of stews. Chicken and dumplings. Thought that was my garage opening. It's my dishwasher, sorry. Chicken and dumplings, I'll throw it in. If you're doing like chicken noodle soup, you can just throw it in. Let's see what else. Roasts, you could throw it in roast. That's what I did for one of our dinners this week for our pantry challenge. So anyway, you could throw it in anything you would use it for. You could pretty much throw it in. I don't even rehydrate it. I just throw it in. And if there's liquid in your recipe, it's going to rehydrate itself during the cooking process, which is nice. It rehydrates right back to, you know, what it was. It's one of my favorite ways of preserving it. I've done it in the freezer, and usually it's just a bag of ice crystals with a little bit of greenery in the bag. So this is my way to preserve it. It's shelf stable, you know, and that's one of my favorite things is shelf stability. I'm sorry, I'm trying to slow my brain down. I've been going and going and going all day. Anyway, so I think shelf stability is really important. And then, you know, if you have a power outage or anything like that, you don't have to worry about losing anything. As you can see, I pressure can my meats. That's a really good skill to have, especially if, you know, there's ever a power outage, your stuff's not going to go bad. Same with water bath canning and dehydrating. So I try to dehydrate as much as I can instead of freeze it. Just then you're not dealing with frost burn, and it's on your shelf and it's kind of ready to go, and it's not going to go bad if you lose power. Or if you just need freezer space, that's one of my things. You've seen all my freezers, I'm sure by now. I did a video on them, so if you can see, I try not to add anything else into my freezers if I can help it. So anyway, let's get started with this process, and I'm going to show you what we do first. Add in a little splash of vinegar, but what I usually do is break up the stalks. I look for any blemishes or cuts in the produce like you see here. In here, that is probably going to get cut down to here. I usually cut about 1 inch away from anything like that, and it's fine to use. I'll just give that part to the chickens. And then I take my vegetable brush and I scrub all the dirt off. You want to thoroughly clean all this, like right here. See, that comes right off. Get all the dirt off. Look for blemishes. Go through your pieces, and I'll bring you back once I've washed these. Okay, now you're just going to take your pieces of celery and look for any blemishes. And what I, like I said, usually do is cut about 1 inch away from that. And it's totally fine. Good to use. I'm going to go ahead and keep the leaves. So I'm going to actually cut those off the stalk. And I am going to also be making celery salt with these leaves. Now you can just dehydrate the leaves you know, themselves, and you want to cut as much of the stalk off of them as you can. And you can just dehydrate the leaves and throw them in a soup or stew if you'd like to. But me personally, I'm going to be making celery salt, and I'll show you how to do that once the dehydrating process is done with. But that's what I am doing right now, is just trimming the leaves and getting them prepped and ready to go for some celery salt. And then I'm just going to take my celery stalks, and you want to cut them into 1/2 inch or smaller slices, no more than 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and get them all prepped up, get all this celery chopped up, and bring you back when it's time to get them blanched. I also forgot to mention, okay, so what you want to trim off is like the bottom of this stalk when you're cutting them and prepping them, and then I always just cut the top of the stalk off and set that aside. I'll give it to my chickens and turkeys, but that's what you want to do. So once again, just showing you, you see this part and you see that. I like to just trim that off. Yeah, so I will bring you back when I'm done. All right, you guys, so I kind of have a small batch here, and like I said, anything that looks, you know, yucky, I don't want to keep and preserve. I mean, this can be on my shelf easily for up to a year. So if it looks not good, that's going to my chickens. You can compost it if you have compost. I don't. We have bears, we have mountain lions, bobcats. I mean, we have every wild animal you can think of here up in the mountains. So I don't want to draw attention. Therefore, it goes to my chickens and I turn it into eggs. Blanching, it can help preserve the color of your celery, the texture, and the quality. And so you do want to blanch this. Blanching also cleans the surfaces. Even though I scrubbed it and I cleaned it, you know, it gives it an extra cleansing as well. And you're going to notice it brightens the color and makes it a more vibrant green as you're blanching it. Blanching also can help slow the loss of nutrients, and it can reduce any bitterness when, you know, blanching vegetables, but with the celery that applies as well. Now, some say that you can add 1 teaspoon per cup of baking soda. I have never done this. I've heard it more and more recently, but after doing research, you don't have to do that. But some people also, you know, will put 1 teaspoon of baking soda per cup in their blanching water. So once again, I don't do this, but some people do. So what I'm going to do, and you want to transfer just a little bit. You don't want to put a ton of celery into your blanching water because it's going to take your water longer to return to a boil, because when you're blanching, you submerge your food, whatever vegetable you're blanching, you submerge that into the boiling water, and you want it to be able to come back up to a boil. I'd say at least, you know, within a minute of adding it in there. I don't know what that is. Okay. Within a minute, you know, of adding it in there, you want it to kind of return to a boil. If you put too much celery or whatever you're blanching in, it's going to take longer to come back to a boil. The point is to blanch this, not cook this. So you kind of want to do this process pretty quickly. So as you see, I have a good boil. I'm going to go ahead and submerge this into the water. And personally, what I like to do is just add a lid to it real quick to get it up to a boil. And you can hear it. My dehydrator cookbook, you want to go ahead and blanch this for no more than 1 minute. We are back up to a boil, so I'm going to go ahead and put a timer on this for 1 minute. And as you can see here, it's already turning a really vibrant green color. So that's what you want to see. Once your timer is off, you're going to go ahead and drain this and immediately submerge it into cold iced water. This is really cold water, so you're just going to shake it up and run it through. You can also have a bowl of iced water at this time too. In the sink, usually I run it to the sink, but I'm going to do this just to be able to film it for you easier. And once it has dipped into the cold water, you're going to drain it. And I like to just dump it out on a clean towel. It's just easier for me to really spread it out and let it cool off. It's already cool to the touch. So I'm just going to spread it out. Ahead and blanch the rest. All right, you guys, now that this has had time to kind of, well, it was cooled off after rinsing it, but now that it's had a little bit of time to dry on the towel, I'm going to go ahead and spread it out. I try not to have mine touching or overlapping so they dry evenly. I also forgot to mention, if you're new to this, you might be wondering why after blanching you need to put it you need to drain it and cool it into ice cold water. You want to, once again, you want to blanch it. You don't want to cook it. So, after you've steamed it and blanched it, you want to cool it down so it doesn't continue cooking. And that's all you're doing with that, with the cold water, is just stopping the cooking process. You don't want it to cook. So it is definitely a vibrant green color. I'm going to get these spread out, and then I will take you along when it's time to turn the dehydrator on. All right, guys, I got my dehydrator full, space them out. Now you're going to go ahead and set your dehydrator. My dehydrator cookbook says 125 degrees for 10 to 12 hours. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and set this to. So 125 degrees. And I usually do what's in between. So instead of 10 hours, I'm going to go ahead and start with 11 hours. And I'll probably check it an hour before it's done, but this will be ready for tomorrow by the time it's done being dried. Dehydrator, I'll be bringing you guys back first thing in the morning because that's when it will be done. It's going to be in there for a little bit. I do want to say that if you're new to dehydrating, on my channel, at least once a week, my goal is to have a canning video or a dehydrating video. And if I have a dehydrating video, I'm also going to tell you how to use it in recipes or what it's good to use for. When I first started dehydrating, I felt great and, accomplished, like, oh, great, I got baby carrots and bell peppers up on the shelf that are good for at least a year. You make it shelf stable, and then it's like, well, what do I do with it now? So I will be sure to include in everything that I dehydrate how you can turn around and use it. There's going to be some recipes, especially during the food pantry challenge, where I'm going to be using a lot of my dehydrated produce that I have on the shelf. And not just because, I don't have onions in my basket. I do have onions in my basket, but just to kind of show you guys so you can see, if you're new to dehydrating or if you're dehydrating, how to incorporate your dehydrated items into meals. Different meals, different ideas for you to use them. So, not only do you have produce on the shelf, but how you can use it. So it's a great thing. I love dehydrating. There's certain produce that I love dehydrating more than others. I will do a video on that if you guys want that. Leave it in the comments below. I do heavily rely on my produce that I dehydrate that's up on my shelf. So I also want to suggest the Ultimate Dehydrator Cookbook. I do have this in an Amazon link below. I did start doing Amazon links because I had so many people asking questions of where I get certain things from. Most of everything I get is on Amazon, but I started leaving links because, then I'd have to stop, check Amazon, find it, copy and paste it. And if somebody, in the comments, 5 different people ask me for the same item, well, I need to copy and paste it 5 different times. So I figure it'd just be easier. It's a quick, click on it, it sends you right there. But just so you guys can see what the item is. And and then you guys can shop around if you decide that you don't like the price of that, or you want to find something, a little bit different, but you get an idea of what it is, then you can go from there and just find whatever accommodates your need. So anyway, the Ultimate Dehydrator Cookbook, this was my best friend when I first started dehydrating. Sorry, I have canning on my mind because I got a can tonight. And I should be doing that right now. But anyway, I just want to let you know this book is super helpful. Just a quick example, I'll tell you. Let's find. Okay, so let's say you wanted 2 bananas. Okay, here's a page. It's alphabetical order of bananas. And in this little box right here is tips. And the different tips that it has is, like for a crisp banana chip, do not use bananas that are too ripe. Bananas will discolor if you don't cut them with a stainless steel knife blade. make sure banana slices don't overlap one another when you're dehydrating them, which that kind of goes for everything. You want it to dry evenly and not be dry everywhere else except where that item was touching something else. So it also says dehydrating temperature, like this is 125 degrees. Preparation, have a spray bottle of lemon juice on hand so your bananas don't brown once you slice them. It tells you how thick you want to cut your slices. And, you know, spray with lemon juice, put on dehydrator trays, dehydrate for 10 hours. It also tells you a dryness test that you can do. You can, you know, once it's dry to test for dryness, it says it should be brittle, feel dry to the touch, and snap in half easily. And then storage. There's a whole nother page on how to store these, the item once you're done. So this is helpful. It gives you tips. It tells you the temperature. It tells you how to prep it. It tells you how to check for dryness, and it tells you how to store it. I mean, it doesn't get simpler than that. And this is a wide variety. There are, I mean, there's, I don't know. Let me see, of course, because I can't find it. Hang on. There's at least over 350 pages in it. All good things. Tells you how to make fruit leather, making jerky. Do I use this for everything? No. My beef jerky recipe that I have under one of my playlists, that's something that's not from this book. So you can experiment. There's other recipes out there that you can follow, and you can pick and choose what tastes better to you. But you can follow this, and it has all different types of recipes and also how to, you know, use them. There's gift ideas in the back, all different types of things. So this is really, if you're serious about getting into dehydrating and you got a dehydrator, whether it's the Excalibur 9 tray that I have, which is also linked down below. Last time I checked, it was 37% off the price. I think that was over $150 savings, or close to it. Don't quote me on that. I'm just, it was over $100 savings. So I wish I got mine on sale. I didn't. I paid full price. But if you're serious and you got yourself a dehydrator and you want to simplify your life a little bit, it doesn't get more simple than, you know, wanting to make a roast and it's like, oh, I'd love to have baby carrots in it, only I don't have baby carrots in the fridge, don't want to go to the grocery store. Well, you have a jar that's baby carrots on the shelf, ready to go. You know, it does the same thing once it rehydrates in the recipe. So anyway, just super convenient. It's a lifesaver to me to have my most go-to, you know, produce items on my shelf ready to go. So I will see you back in the morning.
Right, you guys, it is now the next day. It's a little dark out because it's snowy, but this is our celery, you guys, and it is hard and it could snap. So this is definitely done, and this is the size of it. So it's really convenient to do this because you can put a lot up on your shelf. And yeah, so I'm going to take you guys along and show you how I store this, and we're going to do some celery salt. Okay, you guys, what I usually do is just use one of these canning funnels, and I transfer this into the funnel, and then it goes straight into the jar. There's a lot of noise going on in the background. Sorry, guys. Lots going on. So what I'm going to do is I just, oh, you can't really see that. Hold on a second. So I just dump it in there into the funnel. Personally, that's the easiest way I've found. So let me show you real quick. All right, I just take the mesh tray off, and I kind of fold it over and dump it in. And that way it all goes in to the funnel. I'm going to show you guys a little bit better. So see how I have it folded up? And you could just shake it, and all the little pieces, there shouldn't be any stuck, but sometimes, you know, if they got a little ridge to them, they'll go into the hole like this one. And then I just pick these remaining pieces up and put them into the jar. So that is how I fill my jars with the dehydrated celery after. Now you can put a lid on this and vacuum seal it if you have a food saver. You can vacuum seal and have an airtight lid on it. I personally, for the majority of my things that I use frequently, I should say, if I don't touch it, you know, as frequently, I'll put, you know, I'll put a seal. I'm filling my flour canisters. That's what's all over me. If you see, we ran out this morning, but anyway, if it's something that you're going to take your time going through, I would put the regular mason jar lid on top and vacuum seal it if you have the food saver attachment. If you don't, I'll link it down below so you guys can see where to find that. But yeah, that's what I do. Or I'll use the white plastic screw tops and I'll twist that on if it's something I'm going to be going through. And usually I feel pretty comfortable having one of those screw tops on for up to a year. If it's going to be over a year, if I'm going to take my time going through it, like I said, I'm not going to use one of the plastic screw tops, but this is something we use pretty frequently. So I'm going to finish filling this. I didn't look exactly, but I know I used a few bunches of celery, so to get half of a quart jar, not even half of a quart jar. That's pretty incredible. So anyway, yeah, you could see how much it filled. So the rest is the leaves. I have a lot more bunches to do, so I'm just going to put a screw top on this also, one of the plastic ones, just because I'm going to keep filling this up. And that's really all there is to it, you guys. I'm going to show you how to make some celery salt. Usually celery salt is traditionally made with celery seed, but in a pinch, you can use this in place of it. So to make this celery salt, once again, like I said, traditionally it's made with celery seeds and salt, but I'm not going to be using those. What am I doing? Sorry, I have my celery leaves here that I dehydrated. So what it's going to be is a 2-to-1 ratio. Now, because I don't have a ton of leaves, like enough to do, a couple cups, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you on a smaller scale, but once again, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, so 2 parts of celery leaves and 1 part of salt. You can use iodized salt. I've seen people use kosher salt before. I don't know if it really matters. If it does, leave it in the comments. I'm sure if it does matter, somebody will say it anyway, but me personally, I'm going to be using sea salt for this. You will also need a mixer. I don't have a Vitamix. A Vitamix would be perfect for this. I'm just going to use my Ninja blender. I have a coffee bean grinder, but I think everything will just taste like espresso if I put anything other than coffee through that. So I'm just going to mix it real quick in the Ninja. Right. All right, you guys. So the half cup of loosely packed leaves was about 2 tablespoons of celery leaves ground up. So I have my 2 tablespoons of celery leaves, and I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of sea salt. Now you can use, you could continue using your blender or your Vitamix for this. Not everybody has one of these. I have a mortar and pestle, and personally that's what I'm going to do to grind these together. These are great for grinding up dry herbs, and I am going to blend the salt and this together, and I'll bring you back. All right, you guys, we have a beautiful looking celery salt here. I'm going to go ahead and get this jarred up, but absolutely beautiful. And this is, once again, traditionally celery salt is made with celery seed, but this is really, this is a good substitution for it. And it's wonderful. I think it really helps bring out the flavors when you have onions or carrots in a recipe too, to throw some celery in. You can use this for so many different things, stews, soups, all different types of things. So go ahead, and when you're dehydrating celery, don't waste the leaves, compost them, or you don't have chickens to give them to. You can totally turn it into celery salt. So anyway, I hope you guys give this recipe a try. I will see you guys on the next video. I'm going to get this mess cleaned up, and then I have some canning I need to do. So I will see you guys on the next video. Until then, take care and God bless.